Hello everyone. I think I am live now. Somebody can just write if you
Hello.
can see me and hear me. Hello Sameran,
Yes,
how
yes,
are you?
yes. All fine, sir. All fine.
I was asking others if they can tell that they can hear us properly.
Mhm.
Some of them.
Is it possible to get the link of this right now, sir? अभी जो
I don't think link is possible. Anybody can come
right,
directly to Alok
right,
J
right, right.
Shukla and
Mhm.
my profile is open so they can immediately join.
All right.
Right?
Fine.
So uh, yeah, you can hear me now properly.
Yes, yes, yes. I'll just try connecting to my Bluetooth. I don't know.
No, the voice is clear. You don't connect it,
Is it
otherwise it
clear?
will create a
Okay.
problem.
All right, fine. Then okay.
Yeah, voice is absolutely clear. You
Okay.
just
Then
off that Bluetooth.
yeah, it is off. I think so.
No, now voice is not clear. Samiran, there is some problem with your network. Yeah, I think he will join us again.
Yeah, is it visible now?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yes, yes. Okay.
there was some
Is my voice
problem
echoing
actually.
now?
Yeah, now it's okay. There was
Okay,
some
okay. Actually,
problem.
my voice was echoing that time, so I thought there is some issue with it. So,
No, initially it was okay, but I think you
okay,
tried to
okay.
connect to with
Yeah, I was
Bluetooth, I
connecting
think.
to Bluetooth, but yeah, now it's
No,
disconnected.
that is not required.
Right, right. All right.
We can hear you loud and clear. So
Okay,
I
then perfect.
welcome Sameran Banerjee, uh, my friend, my student, and he has joined us from France. और ये एक्चुअली तीन भाषाएं बोल सकते हैं. हिंदी बोल सकते हैं, इंग्लिश बोल सकते हैं और बंगाली
Bengali, Tamil, Char.
बंगाली एंड तमिल, four languages. Okay, so he knows four languages. And uh, to introduce, actually, I think it's way before we met in Jia Sarai, and
Yeah,
at that time he was my student, and at that time I was in Physics Institute. He was my student, and then since that we are continuously in touch. Then he went to Paris, and he has joined University of Paris. So, Simran, just tell about yourself. I will start from undergraduation quickly. And
yes.
since the agenda of this session is just to give a brief to the students, those who want to pursue post graduation or PhD from outside India, from abroad. Okay, so हम लोग उसके
Right.
बारे में थोड़ा बात करेंगे और कीप इट
Yes, sir.
बाइलिंगुअल. ठीक है, हिंदी इंग्लिश दोनों मिला के बात करेंगे, ज्यादा अच्छा रहेगा. ठीक है.
Sure. Sure,
तो
sir. Sure.
अपना जरा थोड़ा सा बैकग्राउंड बताना, अंडर ग्रेजुएशन के बारे में, पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन के बारे में, फिजिक्स के साथ, फिजिक्स एज अ सब्जेक्ट के साथ जो तुम्हारा आई मीन जो झुकाव रहा, जो लगाव रहा, और फिर उसके बारे में थोड़ा सा बताना.
Bilkul, bilkul, sir. So, hello everyone. I'm Sameran Banerjee, and I'm currently pursuing my master's first year from University of Paris and Sorbonne University in Paris. And I was in Delhi for the last, I mean, before 2 years before the COVID happened. I was in Delhi. I was Alok sir's student.
Good time.
So I did my bachelor's from Amrita University in Coimbatore. I graduated in 2018, And my bachelor's was a plain bachelor's. It was not a bachelor's honors course or something like that. So I had a very normal bachelor's degree there. And yeah, and after my bachelor's, and I mean
थोड़ा बहुत
during my
हिंदी हिंदी भी मिक्स करते रहना थोड़ा, हाँ.
ठीक है सर. तो तो मुझे फिजिक्स मेरे स्कूल दिनों से ही बहुत ज़्यादा पसंद है. आई लाइक फिजिक्स राइट फ्रॉम माई आई वुड से 9th and 10th ग्रेड. एंड मैं 11th and 12th में मुझे और ज़्यादा अच्छा लगने लगा. एंड मैंने तभी डिसाइड कर लिया था कि मुझे फिजिक्स लेके आगे बढ़ना है. और मुझे मुझे बचपन से ही एक कुछ फंडामेंटल चीज़ें करने का या जानने का शौक था. मतलब आई वॉज नॉट सो मच इनटू innovating new things or making new products. I was always more attached to knowing about how things work. एंड तो मेरा हमेशा से वैसा इंटरेस्ट रहा है. और मुझे हमेशा लगा था कि फिजिक्स एक ऐसा सब्जेक्ट है, एक ऐसा जरिया है जिसके थ्रू मैं चीज़ों को ज़्यादा गहराई से मैं समझ सकता हूँ. जैसा जैसे ज़्यादा दूरत मतलब ज़्यादा मैं अच्छे से देख सकता हूँ, चीज़ों को समझ सकता हूँ. तो उसी मोटिवेशन से मैंने फिजिक्स लिया मेरे 11th और 12th में. और फिर मुझे और अच्छा लगने लगा. एंड देन आई वेंट ऑन टू परस्यू माई बैचलर्स इन फिजिक्स. And till now, yes, that passion of mine of doing physics, that interest of mine has been alive, and I'm trying my best to make sure that it doesn't fade away. It just keeps sharpening. It just keeps going ahead. So अब वही passion है जो मुझे यहाँ तक लेके आया है masters तक. And I
Right.
really hope this is something that goes ahead with me. So in very short, I was always a die-hard fan to do physics, and I'm just trying my best to do whatever I can. So yeah.
Okay. So that was a brief introduction. And then actually the main issue is that those students who are sitting in India, and we always talk about how they can pursue their masters or PhD from Indian universities and Indian institutes. So we know that about JAM, IIT JAM, and GATE and CSIR NET, all those exams. So this is not the day today to talk about that. So today actually we are interested in knowing that अगर कोई इंडिया में स्टूडेंट है और वो ग्रेजुएट है, तो वो पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन के लिए कैसे यूरोपियन कंट्रीज में अप्लाई कर सकता है, कहाँ से शुरुआत करे, क्या कोई वेबसाइट है, कोई ब्लॉग है. आई मीन स्टूडेंट्स कंफ्यूज रहते हैं, तो उसके बारे में थोड़ा सा बेसिक से बताइएगा.
बिल्कुल सर. तो यूरोपियन कंट्रीज एज सच अगर देखा जाए तो इट्स वेरी वाइड, इट्स वेरी वेरी डिफरेंट इन एवरी कंट्री इन यूरोप. अगर फ्रांस की बात करें, बिकॉज मैंने फ्रांस का आई हैड टू डू इट इन ग्रेट डिटेल्स, तो आई कैन शेयर लॉट ऑफ डिटेल्स अबाउट हाउ डू यू गेट इनटू फ्रांस.
That will give you an example now for other.
Exactly. Yeah. So for France, there's an organization or there is a board called Campus France
So
that's in India. And
let me just tell those who have joined immediately. So
yeah,
we are just discussing uh, with Sameran Banerjee that how they can apply for post graduation or PhD in physics from a European university, and he is giving example from France. Yes, continue. There is some issue with network. We will have to wait little bit. Yeah, he'll be joining again. I think there was some problem in network. So just bear with me. Hello everyone. In between, I can just say hello to everybody, those who have joined. Yeah.
Visible and audible now?
No, actually there was some problem. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So I think we were
Yeah,
discussing
carry
about.
on.
But yeah,
Carry
okay.
on.
So when it comes to European countries, I mean it's very wide. बहुत ज़्यादा मतलब हर देश के अलग-अलग procedures हैं. तो मैं फ्रांस के लिए मैं काफी डिटेल में बता सकता हूँ क्योंकि
हाँ,
मैं
तो मैं
आई
ये कह रहा था ना कि अगर फ्रांस का एग्जाम्पल आप दोगे तो उससे
बिल्कुल
एक आइडिया लग जाएगा। अदरवाइज तो भाई हर कंट्री अलग है, उसके रूल्स रेगुलेशंस अलग हैं, बट
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल
या
तो अगर फ्रांस की बात करें तो मास्टर्स के लिए यू हैव a common portal in all over India that's called Campus France portal है. So you can just go to Google, you can just type Campus France and you will get the website. It is an authorized French government organization in other
so
countries too.
I will just type
Yeah,
that campus France.
Campus France. Yes.
Okay, that is the keyword.
So
Okay, yeah.
yeah, so Campus France. So it is actually an authorized French government site, which is
Yeah.
spread over in more than 26 countries, and India is one
Okay.
among them. So
Right.
all you have to do is Campus France के अलग-अलग zones हैं. For South India में you have Tamil Nadu, you have Chennai office. Now all over India you have more than 16 offices like that. So all you have to do is you need to go and you need to first create an account in the Campus France website. So the first thing that you would need to create an account there is your passport. तो
Right.
आपको पासपोर्ट की जरूरत होगी and using the passport number you can create an account and then you will be asked to enter your basic personal details and educational qualifications. तो वहाँ पे आपके सारे आईडी प्रूफ्स जो भी आपके पैन कार्ड्स हैं सारे आईडी प्रूफ्स हो गए एंड देन योर मार्कशीट्स ऑफ योर ग्रेजुएशन आई मीन योर स्कूल एंड कॉलेज एंड ऑल योर ग्रेजुएशन मार्कशीट्स. So once you're done with the first step of verification, first level of uploading, you will then get the chance to search for your programs. Yeah, what programs do you wish to apply for? So masters. So there are certain sections over there. You can search it topic wise, you can search it subject wise, you can search it based on categories. So and the moment you put, for example, you type physics, and then you will have a lot of list, drop down list that comes up too. So those lists can be based on as your searches. For example, it can be based on the universities in France. It can be based on the courses that you're trying to apply. So in France, there are a lot of 2-year program master courses. There is a 1-year specialization courses. There is 2-year but separate M1 and M2 separate master courses. So it's quite mixed up. You need to look into that. And then there are courses which are only in French. There are courses which are only in English. There are certain courses which is international programs. So इंटरनेशनल प्रोग्राम की जो कोर्सेज है वो ज्यादातर 2 या 3 यूनिवर्सिटीज मिल के कंडक्ट करती है, ना कि एक अलग अकेला यूनिवर्सिटी. सो उसमें आपको एक ही प्रोग्राम का नाम 2 3 4 यूनिवर्सिटीज में आपको दिखेगा कि यही प्रोग्राम है, बिकॉज इट इज अ मेंबर ऑफ अ लॉट ऑफ यूनिवर्सिटी, सो यू कैन add all of them also. So in Campus France, there is a limit that you can select 6 or 7 universities that you can apply to. So now it's up to you that you can then go to the each university website. You can go to their home pages, the department website, and then check as per your requirements, whether the language, the instruction medium, and then what is the course structure and what is the tuition fee. So majority of the universities in France, a lot of them are all public universities. So it's something like the fees is quite subsidized. So 200, 300, 500 euros. That's the tuition fee for 1 year. But there are private universities as well, but they charge a little high. So that can be right from 1,500 to even 5,000 euros. So that depends on you. And then it's now this is where you need to really brainstorm कि आपको क्या कोर्स चाहिए, किस तरह का कोर्स चाहिए, and आपको बाकी, and then certain courses might require additional qualifications. For example, certain courses might ask you to submit IELTS or certain English proficiency test. But ज़्यादातर जितना I remember seeing it, most of the French universities don't ask for it. but they might ask for a French certification if you are taking a French course. But for English certification, they don't really stress so much on any GRE or IELTS and TOEFL exams like that. So yeah, so it's been, and then so this is the first part where you need to select what universities you want to apply. And then the second thing is you need to make sure about the educational and the admission criteria. So a lot of universities primarily ask you for your statement of purpose, and they might ask you any details of your projects or internships that you have done before.
So
So
how much
you might
that
have
is
to,
important, because like when we are in India, uh, some of our uh, juniors, or you can say students or friends, they are doing their undergraduation from colleges जहाँ पे प्रोजेक्ट वगैरह ज्यादा होता नहीं है. तो
बिल्कुल.
समटाइम्स दैट इज अ इवन बहुत सारे पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट स्टूडेंट्स जो आते हैं, जब वो बाद में पीएचडी के लिए अप्लाई करना शुरू करते हैं तो एसओपी वगैरह या फिर पहले से उनका कोई बैकग्राउंड नहीं होता है प्रोजेक्ट वगैरह का. तो उस चीज को कैन यू सजेस्ट कि मतलब अभी से ही वो कैसे देखना शुरू कर दें, या फिर क्या वो मतलब रिक्वायरमेंट होगी जो उनको हेल्प करेगी?
सर कोई भी इंटर्नशिप हो या कोई भी प्रोजेक्ट हो, किसी भी तरह का एक्सपोजर अगर हो, अगर वो आप
Yeah.
सीवी में लिख सकते हैं, एंड इफ यू कैन मेंशन दैट एज यू हैव लर्न समथिंग फ्रॉम दैट, it is definitely of a huge help. It is much more help than your grades or CGPA and percentage of undergraduation, because
Means your suggestion is that students should start thinking जब वो
exactly, yeah.
ग्रेजुएशन कर रहे हैं तो उनको उसी समय से सोचना चाहिए कि वो कौन से कोर्सेज या कौन सा प्रोजेक्ट कर सकते हैं जो अपने सीवी में मेंशन कर सके.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल, और जितना हो सके, या फिर चाहे अगर आपको नहीं भी मिल रहा है, फॉर एग्जांपल इफ यू आर फाइंडिंग इट डिफिकल्ट टू फाइंड एन इंटर्नशिप, try attending conferences, or at least trying to to get connected to a certain conferences that you can mention that okay, you have been to a certain conference and you have learned something from so and so person in a conference. Because one thing that I have realized after coming here is there is a huge amount of importance given to what have you done apart from the coursework, because
Right.
coursework is something that is quite common. I mean, the syllabus of
Everybody
bachelor's
has
is
to
pretty
do
much,
that.
everyone has to do that. So what is it that have you done more than that or something different than that? So if it's a project or if it's some kind of an internship, even it can be, it can also be just it can also be just a research kind of a just research write-up that you had a certain idea and you try to implement that. Now it's not necessary that you need a result or you have to get a publication. You can just
Yeah.
mention that
At
you
least
had a
at least you have worked on something. You
exactly,
tried that.
yeah. You have to
You
give a
tried
very
to learn
genuine thing
something.
that हमने ये कोशिश किया है.
कोशिश
तो
किया, right.
वो बहुत जरूरी है, वो बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी है, इनफैक्ट वो सबसे ज्यादा जरूरी है. तो
तो स्पेशली जो
लास्ट
अंडर
क्वेश्चन,
ग्रेजुएट स्टूडेंट सुन रहे हैं, आई मीन because they have still time if they want to apply for masters outside, so they can actually start building up their CV. कुछ ऐसा कुछ ज्वाइन करना है, कोई रिसर्च वर्क ज्वाइन करना है, या फिर कोई छोटा सा रिसर्च प्रोजेक्ट है, या फिर ऑनलाइन ही कोई कॉन्फ्रेंस है जो कि
बिल्कुल
हम मेंशन कर सकें.
बिल्कुल, इवन ऑनलाइन
और
कोर्सेज भी है सर. फॉर एग्जांपल इफ यू कैन टेक अप a couple of courses from Coursera or MIT or any universities जो
and we
online
have
certification
NPTEL in
courses है.
India.
Yeah,
NPTEL.
exactly. In the NPTEL, I mean, like basically something that you can show that you have done apart from the course. So it can be
Apart
extra
from course.
courses, it
Right.
can be certified courses, it can be any such thing. So it will greatly help in getting into. And then the other important thing is the way you put it up. For example, writing your SOPs, and that is again important because your SOP really has to reflect what have you done and what are you trying to do. So, I mean, when you're applying, so
So
almost
can
every
you just
university
give
you apply.
little I mean briefing to our students that how to just attempt to write a good SOP, or what should be kept in our minds while writing SOPs?
Okay, so मैं ये बताता हूँ कि मतलब मैंने जो SOP लिखा था, and I had cross checked it a couple of times with a few of my friends again. So the first important thing is there has to be a continuity. There has to be a flow. So your SOP starts with a very 2 to 3 line introduction about what have you done and how did you get into physics. Basically, a very basic introduction. But then you need to carry it over to stress down certain points that you have learned certain things. For example, if you can highlight a certain courses that you have learned or that you are confident upon, that out of so and so courses you are pretty much confident about one or two particular subjects, and then if you have done a project or, as I said, an internship or something, how do you connect what have you learned in that to your coursework? So it's not just like even though, for example, there are situations where what you learn and what internship you happen to get, they are not so much connected. But still, when you write it down, you need to bring in certain key points that you can relate to, that you have studied this in theory. And when you went for an internship, you could see that that in application perspective. So you can write down that how have you understood the subject better, what has helped you understand it better. And then you need to carry it over to a point that what are you planning to do after this? So now you have reached to a level where you know that, okay, I have learned this, I am confident on this. Now using this, what is it that you're trying to do now? So if you're applying for a master's, what is it that you're looking for in that master's? So are you looking for just a coursework, or are you looking to broaden your area of interest, or what is it? So if you can briefly mention these in like maybe 3 paragraphs or maximum 4 paragraphs, then I think it should be a pretty good SOP. It should be a pretty good summary of what basically your interest lies.
Okay. So I mean that should be a genuine attempt कि जिसमें सारी चीजें एक फ्लो में हो, और जो कुछ भी आपने किया है उसका एक ब्रीफ इंट्रोडक्शन एंड व्हाट यू थिंक, वो सारी चीजें उसमें होनी चाहिए. सो उसको क्रॉस चेक भी, जैसे समरन बता रहे हैं कि उन्होंने अपने फ्रेंड्स के साथ और उसको क्रॉस चेक भी किया. सो दैट इज ऑल्सो वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट बिकॉज खुद का लिखा हुआ कई बार उसमें करेक्शंस वगैरह आदमी नहीं देख पाता है,
चाहे वो ग्रामेटिकल करेक्शंस हो या somebody who knows you, for example, somebody who knows what you have been doing. So even you can send it to that person so that he or she can verify that okay, is it like does it make sense or not? Because जब हम पढ़ते हैं और हमारे दोस्त लोग पढ़ते हैं वो अलग होता है, but when you're sending it to a person who is completely unknown to you, you need to know how that will sound there. So it's definitely better to get it cross-checked.
Not carried away. From a neutral perspective, actually.
Bilkul, exactly.
Yeah, okay. So that,
and then the third step happens to be is like you might get a couple of interview calls from from maybe a lot of interviews. A lot of universities will approve your applications and then call you for an interview, maybe Skype or something like that. So that again depends on the university. So there are universities which will accept you directly. There are universities which will call you for interviews. For PhDs, mostly you will have an interview in almost every university. But for masters, it depends on the university. So even the interview what I had was very basic. It was a very, very fundamental questions. So whatever we study in our bachelors, we generally tend to just make sure we remember the formulas, or we try to make sure we know how the step happens. But that is not what they are looking for in interviews, at least the interviews I faced. So my interview questions were very, very fundamental. They were more about why do we do this nature. It was not like how do we do this.
How do we do, right?
Exactly. The questions are like, if you have a potential, and why do you Taylor expand it? What is the use of a Taylor expansion? And not like give the formula of first approximation.
Give the formula, or just I will give you a function and just do the Taylor expansion for it.
So that is again something that I would like to really stress.
Like even while we are studying, or me as a teacher, so we should focus on why we are doing this. If I am introducing a concept, why? Otherwise, that formula is written. You don't have to give objective type exam whole of your life, right? So that is only a single day when you require that. Otherwise,
it is a huge difference.
सबसे ज़्यादा important क्या होगा कि ये चीज क्यों है, इसका क्या यूज है, इसको कैसे हम आगे इसको यूज करने वाले हैं. So that is very good point given by Sameran. Yeah, continue.
So these are the basic steps. So once you are cleared with these things, so for example, the universities will respond to you through the Campus France portal that we have accepted you, or even there are certain universities which will reject your application. So those who are applying, and in case you get rejections, don't worry, you don't have to be disheartened because of rejections, because your application can be rejected by so many reasons. It's not just because you are not capable or something, but there are a lot of reasons for your applications to be rejected. But then once this is done, and then it's not a huge process, then you just need to start your visa applications. And so those things you can figure out once. I mean, you will be in touch with the Campus France person, so they will keep telling it to you. So you, once you're done with the
What you have to
university,
do then? So
yeah,
the
so you
important part was the presentation that you have
exactly,
to make
yes,
in the form of application,
yeah,
SOP and all. So that is
yeah,
the most important part, and then the interview.
interview, yeah.
So
So the interview,
regarding
yeah.
PhD, you had discussion with some of your friends there in France.
Yes.
So would you like to throw light if somebody directly wants to apply for PhD?
Yes, for PhD, most of the PhD applications are independent. They don't usually go through the Campus France procedure. A few might, but most of them are independent. And PhD applications are open throughout the year. You don't have a very specific time to apply for it, but it's just that you need to keep checking on the websites. And for PhD students in France, the most widely, or the most the domain which is so much in practice is mostly material sciences. It is fundamental sciences and optics in physics particularly. So if you, and also medical sciences, yes. So for PhDs, in terms of, so the minimum duration in France is 3 years. I think more or less is 3 years. There are very few cases where your PhDs go beyond 3 years in France, and you are expected to have a good amount of coursework in your masters before applying to PhD. So
Hmm.
yeah, because once you arrive here, you directly start with your PhD. Generally, you don't take up a lot of courses, or you don't have to take up a lot of classes, something, maybe one or two basic classes, and then you will be directly put into research, or you will be working with a core team of research or experimentalists. So if you have
Right.
a fundamental base in your masters, if you have certain initiation there, it will be quite helpful to you once you start your PhDs here. So there are a lot of grants. There are lot of grants given by the host institutions, by the projects, by the French governments. So in terms of students, France is very friendly for students. It's very help. It gives you a lot of funds basically. So you can apply for PhDs outside. You can apply in France for sure.
And then again the same means for PhD डायरेक्ट उनको प्रोफेसर को देखना है किसके अंडर में
Exactly.
पोजीशन है और
Direct
किसके
email. हाँ, direct
उसके
email
साथ
with your
डायरेक्ट
research interest. हाँ, direct interest, motivation letter, आपका SOP, आपका मास्टर्स का थीसिस, जो भी आपने
तो
काम
ये जो
किया है.
सारा प्रेजेंटेशन है दिस विल बी वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कि हाउ यू
हाँ,
प्रेजेंट
मतलब बिल्कुल. The most important point is the documentation. कि how have you written your research? For example, the research letter, or the SOP and everything. And if it's an interview, then how deep do you know about the concepts? They don't really think about, are you able to answer very like surface level questions. So they start on a very surface level, and then they just keep digging in unless until they realize that the content. So the content is very important here. So,
तो जो एक्सप्रेशंस याद रखने वाली बात नहीं है
बिल्कुल भी नहीं,
जस्ट
बिल्कुल भी नहीं. Yeah, I mean, even if
ओके
you forget the most basic, even if you forget F equal to MA, it doesn't matter unless until you know how do you calculate F and MA. So it's
राइट
of that level. Yeah.
Okay, so that was very nice. I would thank, and we will continue the talk, but in between, I should thank all of them, those who have joined us. And
Yes.
uh, I was just amazed to know about the coursework which you have already undergone. So that was very nice experience for me also to know about the exposure and so just tell, because we have postgraduate students also, they have joined us. So यहाँ और वहाँ के पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन फिजिक्स में किस तरीके का डिफरेंस है और व्हाट यू हैव फेल्ट एंड फेस्ड एंड लर्न all that experience we would like to know.
Yes, so this was a huge hit for me when I came here because एक तो पूरा education system अलग है यहाँ पे. It's very different than it's in India. The examination patterns are very different here. The courses, according to me, I felt the coursework initially to be really heavy for me because there is a basic level of assumption that they have that because you have come here, so you already know certain things. That's a basic assumption that is made here. And they really go fast on that. So they don't really sit down and wait for you to do your thing. So they just come, they just suggest you certain materials, they suggest you standard textbooks, and they just be like, okay, you can go back and refer to this point, and then they start escalating. So
Right.
The amount of coursework what I have done here or what I'm even doing right now is so basically 1 year of masters in India is equivalent to 6 months of coursework here plus a little additions which is just given out of general knowledge kind of a thing. So I mean the coursework is quite heavy, it's quite different, and it's very conceptual. It's very much focused on how concretely do you understand the subject, because even the examination patterns are no way to just calculate some value or to just write down some stories or just write down some explanations. It's you are given, you will be asked a question that you have a certain system in a certain configuration, and what happens if you add this, or what happens if you add this particular type of perturbation, and what happens if the perturbation is of higher order. And so you need to really know what is perturbation, you need to really know how do you handle perturbations and when to use time dependent, when to use time independent. So it really boils down to the fact that you need to know the subject really well. So
Right. And you are telling with the single example that in single question they will ask something, and from part A to B to C to D. So in a single question you have to know each and every concept.
exactly. So here the questions are not different. So here the entire question paper will have at the maximum 2 questions or say 3 questions, but each question will have like 8 to 10 subparts, and every subpart is basically a continuation of the previous part. So the initial subparts are going to be very easy. For example, you might have a harmonic oscillator and they'll just say that, okay, write the potential for a harmonic oscillator and then calculate the energy eigenstate. So the first 3-4 will be like, okay, it's pretty much doable. But then it starts to get complicated. So maybe when you reach the part 5, and there the question will be like, okay, now you add a Dirac potential as a perturbation to that, and then what happens if you change the Dirac potential, and what happens if you use if you introduce an electric field which is time varying, and then what happens if you put an external magnetic field. And so it basically gets complicated as you go down. So and then the biggest problem is, if you make a mistake in any of the previous parts, you just carry forward the entire mistake. So you have to be really careful when you're doing it.
So is there step marking?
It completely depends on the professor. So there are professors who give you marks based on your approach, not on your steps. Even all your steps are wrong, but your approach is right, there are chances you will get a good score. But there are professors who are worried only about the final result. There are certain professors like that. So no matter you do everything and then you just forget, okay, instead of minus 13.6, you write plus 13.6, and they'll cut maybe half of the score for that question. So it is completely dependent on the professor. And here actually everything depends between you and the professor. So if you have any problem, if you are not able to understand something, there is no point of you going and telling it to the management or you going and telling it to the administration. You are completely independent and you have all the rights to talk to your professor. So it's everything between you and the professor here. There's no middle person that you can complain to or you can suggest something to. So it's pretty much important that you can directly, if you have certain problems that you're not able to understand a certain concept, or if you feel that you're not clear with a certain lecture, the best and best way to get out of that problem is mail your professors, tell them clearly that this is what you're facing, and they will give you an appointment. Just go meet them, talk to them, and just go according to what they say. You don't have to
Okay.
really, yeah.
And
So
the kind of exposure the faculties have, you're telling about the faculties working there, so we will
yeah.
be interested to know. Yeah.
So majority of our faculties that we have got in our first semester and our current second semester, majority of them are full-time researchers. They are indulged in multiple research activities at a given point of time. They are affiliated to more than one universities sometimes. So you will find one professor's designation in more than one or two projects, more than one and two
Yeah.
universities. So it's really difficult to actually catch hold of a professor here because you don't really even know when they are available. So it's really difficult to. So whenever you wish to talk to a professor, you really need to mail them. You need to get an appointment because even though you go to their cabin and half of the time they will never be there at all and you don't even know where they will be. So the
Mhm.
professors here are highly research oriented, and the way they deliver the lectures, the way they even prepare the assignment sets and things like that are very much connected to their experiments or very much connected to the latest developments happening in a certain field and not just some standard thing that has already been there in certain textbooks, or like you just take something and then put it over here. It's more or
Right.
less what's happening here, so that so that, for example, you really come to know what is happening and you try to understand how that's happening with the knowledge that you're gaining right here. So you basically learn how to apply what you're learning to current problems that's going on right now. So I feel that is more realistic because in a way you come to know. Even the question papers are like that. The question papers doesn't really have a question. The question paper will have a scenario, like you have two protons coming together and you have a collision between them, and then you have, so the first part of the question paper is like a paragraph that you need to
Mhm.
realize, and there will be data given in that paragraph. So you have the kinetic energy is so much and certain things like that, and then from then you will have to start extracting the information. So it is more of
Right.
the examinations, the lectures are more of learning new things rather than it's just to reciprocate certain things that's already present. So that is a
Okay.
huge change that I have noticed here.
Okay. So at the end, how you are liking the city, France, city Paris? Sorry.
Paris is beautiful. Paris is really amazing. The weather is very, very weird because you
Huh.
don't really have any surety, and you have snowfall in summers and you have rain during winters. But then overall, the Paris, I mean, it's a beautiful city. It's an amazing place to be, and it's an amazing place for international exposure because you have people from all over the globe over here pursuing various courses, various levels. So you have a very wide culture, you have a very good mixture of cultures, mixture of castes, religion, and people around, and you get to know a lot of different ideologies of people and different backgrounds of people. So it's a very beautiful place. It's a very beautiful place to be and learn from your environment, learn from people around. So yeah.
Okay. And are you able to pursue your interest of music, the keyboards and all?
Not right now because I don't really get time, but I would love
Okay.
to. I
Okay.
mean, yeah, I mean, it is, it, I sometimes do that as a recreation, for example, but
Yeah.
then I really don't find that time to do it. So, but I would love to do that.
Okay. I hope that everybody liked the talk. And if you guys have any questions, you can just email us. Uh, 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 the on institute email you can email, or personal email you can, and I will forward it to Samiran, and then we can get replies. So main thing in nutshell, if I could say, is that you have to be very good at presenting yourself through your writing while applying, and you should be clear in your mind why do you want to go for the post graduation in physics, or for example PhD in physics or in particular topic. that clarity should be there. The document should be very well written. तो उस पे समय खर्चा करो, अलग अलग चीजों को पढ़ो, लोगों के दूसरों के भी एसओपीज पढ़ो, और उस पे टाइम लगाना है. उसको अचानक ही आपको नहीं लिख देना है कि बस बैठे और लिख दिया ना.
सबसे ज्यादा
तो
टाइम इसी में लेना है सर.
हाँ, तो because that is the only thing they have to judge you, right? So otherwise they don't know you. So with all this, if anybody has any question, we can take it through the chat. If anybody would like to ask any question. Uh, no issues. So I think they will email us. Then
Yes.
I will just forward it or discuss with you. Okay. So
Sure,
really,
sir.
thanks for joining, for
Thank you.
giving
Thank
time,
you.
because I know you are having very busy schedule with your exams. But thank you very much for joining.
Definitely. My pleasure, sir. My pleasure. Of course.
Okay,
Thank
thank you
you.
very much. Huh? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.